Hey everyone, Sean here with Cross Industries doing another follow-up. We did a trial recently of a new software for our RMM tools, and we did the PSA side of it as well, and I just had a few follow-up things on it. So we only onboarded, I think, one test server of ours, and I believe almost a whole customer as well. And the onboarding experience was okay at best. The issue that we had was, well, the first off, the agent. You actually have to go in and download an agent here. You may or may not be able to see it, but you got like all the different ones, and then mass deployment. We used the mass deployment on the one customer, and it was okay. It had a lot of hiccups along the way. It didn't want to deploy on all the machines out the box, so we ended up having to go into individual machines. But getting into it, you actually had to sign into the agent for that customer and for the location and everything, and then insert the policies. And man, you really have to actually go in and customize everything before you can even add an agent. It can't be like a bare minimum default, or you can't even set a default policy. You have to go in per customer or account, and it's very troublesome. So on here on the left, you got the discovery and deployment is what we went to for the settings for the mass deployment on the one customer here. But over here, you have scopes and stuff what you got to look at. You have to set this up first. You have to set up the groups first. The groups are kind of like the customers. It's not a very pleasant way of going about it. Um, I personally did not like it. Worst way to set it up, and I feel like when I did research on this this company, which this company is Pulseway, I feel like this would be more suited for a help desk internal company's IT department more than anything else. I know they're trying to push it for MSPs, but even the name of the product, which is called Teams, it, it's not even suited for an MSP, honestly. I did trial this in the past before they had a lot of the features and did a lot of updates, but overall, it's just not been a good experience. um, this is just like my video review after the fact of using it for a while. We've been using it for what, over a week now, and getting into all the little features. But man, it is a hassle. So, let alone just on the RMM side here, just setting up beforehand for all the customers is a challenge. They do have documentation, which is great, but from an ease of use and efficiency standpoint, there is none. We did trial another product before this a while ago, Navarisk, and dear God, that one was a whole lot worse. It literally took ages to create a customer, create the policies, and then create the location, and then the agent, and then import and load on the agent to each of the computers for it to work. And reporting wise, I don't even think we got that far. It was just too many steps. I mean, and as far as an RMM goes, you need to be simplified and efficient. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, go to ConnectWise. And yeah, I get why they say go to ConnectWise. It's simple, built effectively for an MSP, and there's no confusion. There's no 500 steps to get to where you want. Everything is designed for an MSP, which is great. We don't want to go that same route. Only not because of the price. Don't get me wrong. It's very expensive no matter what. And everyone says invest your money where it needs to go, and you'll love it. You won't have any regrets. But the issue here is everyone goes that route. Everyone. Almost all the local companies I know that are good, successful IT MSPs in the area use ConnectWise LabTech. There's no separation or no distinguishing between all these companies other than what types of service they offer or how well they offer them. And I'm like, man, you really need to go out, be your own person, find all these niche softwares that people aren't using, and go from there. Build on top of that. We were going to try to do that with Pulseway. It did not turn out well. Um, let alone on the RMM side, it was a nightmare. Reporting, I will say that the two things that I loved on Pulseway over everything else are patch management and reporting. Phenomenal. You can select whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, and it just works. The second thing that I like is patch management. Amazing, simple, click and point, done. Um, Not really much more to say about that. Everyone else kind of has like similar patch management style, so not much more on that. But I will say Kind of a third thing that I do like are the software that you can get with Pulseway. You have mobile and desktop apps available for Pulseway for both monitoring as well as for managing, and they work great. They're very effective in what they do. Overall, though, this was just not a great setup for us. We even went and tried the PSA side of things, and it looks like Tiger CRM all over again. It's almost identical to Komodo 1, or I think it's Itarian now. Almost identical. And it is god awful to navigate, and it's just stay far away from that. I will say, since we do have customers on backups, we did try and get into the backup side of things. We could not, let alone it being a trial, but you have to have an appliance running, whether it be like a mini server or something running that you've built for the customer, or an actual appliance. I believe it's Unitrends that runs on the backups, but man, that's a downside. I mean, we have customers that are in the middle of nowhere, or don't have a server, or can't get a server, can't afford one. We deal with a lot with small businesses, and the fact that you require an appliance just to do backups is a no-go straight from the start. I believe they do integrate with WebRoot and Kaspersky, which is great. I mean, everyone has a standard antivirus that they use nowadays, so it's not really different from any other provider. Um, I think they're trying really too hard to differentiate themselves, but they're doing it wrong because like they have integrations over here, and I think it was like Slack. Like, yeah, a lot of newer generation IT MSPs use Slack for inter-office communications, which is great. Don't get me wrong. That's it. Nothing else. Let's see if I can. Like, you can get all these templates under reporting and stuff. You can do legacy as well, but for systems, it's just a nightmare. I mean, there's not much to do with it other than get in and get into the nit and gritty before you can even onboard a customer. Here, let's see if I can go to backups. Oh yeah, here. Since I'm in a trial, I don't have anything activated. But on top of that, a minimum of 198 per month, and then for quick recovery, which I get, but it requires you to purchase an appliance or set up an appliance. Why? Unitrends itself has a cloud-based backup software. There's nothing more to do with that. I mean, really. Aside from that, the product seems like it's growing. It's just not there yet, and I know a lot of people say that. We tried out Synchro MSP as well, because we had used Repair Shopper for years, and it seemed like a good idea. They're not there by any means. Their remote desktop. Oh, before I move on to Synchro, remote support tools for Pulseway, non-existent. They have a remote desktop option, but you have to enable it every time you want to use it. You have to go into the dashboard, to the monitoring management software, right-click it, and then enable it, and then save it, and then wait a minute for it to enable and download the software, and then you can use it. Really, not really ideal for an MSP. You'd have to be using something like Screen Connect or TeamViewer or SplashTop before you even got Pulseway, because there's no other way for that to work. And back to Synchro, I mean, their remote desktop support stuff, their desktop sharing is great for just screen sharing, but there's no file sharing, there's no monitoring, there's no stats while you're on there. I mean, you can barely do Control Alt Delete for systems. I'm like, there's not much with it. It's very plain, and I get it. They're new. It's a newly developed product, and they're still pushing heavily on the updates. But on top of that, there's no integrations to backups. There's not even an option for a backup solution. Um, it's hard pressed to even push for that product, let alone being that we used Repair Shopper for a while. The documentation system and the ticketing system is okay at best. Um, didn't like it. Outside of that, it seems like it's a growing platform that may soon come into the market as more mature, that has all these features that need it, but right now it's not. The other one that we tried out, I think, was Atera. Atera is probably the least developed at this point. I mean, I did a lot of research on Atera, and they have good, stable features. They have their ticketing system, PSA, billing system all in one, which is great for a one-man shop or a small MSP. And it does do per technician pricing, just like Synchro does. I think it's $79 a month, that bare minimum. And it does cater to the smaller MSPs. Plus, on top of that, they have a backup solution. I'm not sure. We didn't get to try it yet, but the backup solution does have the option. You don't even have to have an appliance for that, at least. It's only, I think, 20 cents per gigabyte for backups, which is great. So you can monitor and manage through a Terra's dashboard and done. And I think they also integrate with WebRoot, which is another great thing. And their remote desktop support tool is Splashtop, which comes free. It's great. Love it. It's at least on par with TeamViewer and some of the other, and almost on par with Screen Connect. So there's that. I mean, the only thing that we didn't see was a lot of good major updates coming in. I mean, I think the last update that they had pushed was August of this year. That's 4 months ago. I'm not really much to say on that. I mean, you would think as a newer product, you'd be pushing more updates, being more in tune with the community. But even if you go on their forums and their community center, there's almost no communication on there whatsoever. There's no new posts really from the developers or from the owners, not even from a management standpoint. There's nothing. So it's kind of like a dead package that just sits there. Don't get me wrong, it's stable, but there's no new development for it. That was a no-go for us as well. So we are on SolarWinds still, and SolarWinds is, it's just expensive, honestly. I mean, yeah, you can kind of tie in all these costs to the customer, but where I live and what we offer to the customers, the pricing's just not there yet, and I don't feel like expanding to the point where I get to the big names and whatnot. But I think we're at $299 per, no, 275 or 250 for a device. On top of that, there's another dollar for antivirus, wrist intelligence, and mobile device management stuff. They also have other features and stuff that we could purchase as well. But outside of that, they have a per server activation of $9.95 on top of a platform fee that is a minimum. I think the minimum billing amount, regardless of what you do, is $200 a month, which isn't bad. I mean, we easily do that. That's not a problem. But the backup software is phenomenal. Never had an issue with the backup software. It just works. It's probably one that they bought a while back, don't get me wrong, and they rebranded it, but it works. It's heavily integrated. It works. We've never seen something fail. We've never seen files get lost. And the fact that they offer file folder backups now for like $1, it's a no-brainer. Work it into the price. Sell it. Don't even sell it to the customer. Just say, hey, these are all the features. Bam, there you go. Oh, hey, did you know? And it works. Because users will lose their files all the time. It saves you time, money, and a headache from going back every time and going through a full-size backup to look for those files when it's just right there. Do it for the workstations. Servers, not so much, but for the workstations. People always save stuff to the desktop or to the documents folder or to the downloads folder. They accidentally forget where it is or they delete it. It's gone. No big deal. You just go back in, look for that file folder, bam, done. Even if they do it the past day or so, all you gotta do is look at those recent items and done. It works. As far as the server goes, just do a full-size backup on the server at least every day. You're good to go. I mean, overall, when we started, we were looking at pushing the Pulseway. We were heavily influenced by Pulseway and a lot of other people that try and use Pulseway. But even as a smaller MSP, I just don't see how we could do it. It is not something that looks like it's an option at this point based on how hard it is to get integrated with everything else. So as far as that goes, that's this little video that I wanted to show about what RMMs we're using and what we're looking to push to. But I think we're just going to stay put with what we have and work on our pricing with SolarWinds and go from there. And if anything else comes up, we may look into it. But right now, we're just going to stick with SolarWinds. It works. No issues whatsoever. And for now, it's the best bang for the buck. Someone had suggested that we went to Ninja. I think we used Ninja well over a year ago before we moved to SolarWinds. And Ninja had, I would say, a great modern approach to things, but the issue being the pricing. At $4 per per agent, that is extremely expensive. I don't even think ConnectWise is that much. I think ConnectWise actually is cheaper than SolarWinds, depending on how many devices you get. And I think we had gotten a quote from ConnectWise at one point for what, 250 to 350 per device, not $4 by any means. And being a growing, and I'm quoting this, growing RMM tool, only RMM tool, I don't see the value in that. I mean, $4 per device, no matter what it is, and you can only do Windows and Mac, and the Mac agent apparently they're still working on, so not even that. I don't see it. Yeah, they were like, oh, you can do the NMS agent, which is basically a network monitoring SNMP type device. Not even device, it's software that sits on it. It's free software, so they shouldn't even charge for that, and I don't think they do, which is great. But $4, you think for every other mature vendor out there for RMM, $4 is almost double everyone else. So, on top of that, yeah, they integrate with WebRoot. They have TeamViewer that they give you free, but that no, there's no reason should be charging that much. And on top of that, any type of updates, let's say you did a trial and you were going to wait to see the roadmap to see when they get these updates in, you have to have an active account to be signed in to see their roadmap. They don't post anything publicly other than what they want you to see, which is like, oh yeah, you should be coming soon. No, that doesn't work for me, and I doubt it's going to work for most of you. If you're a newer vendor coming onto the market, you need to be upfront and open about everything you're doing, because it gets you trust. Gets you trust from people that you want. Once you have that, then you grow faster. That's what they need. And I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon. So we can't move back to them because it's not there. I mean, we're saving so much money being on SolarWinds, and I think they just started getting a backup solution with who was it? Cloudberry. And Cloudberry seemed okay. We had trialed it way back when it was a beta or an alpha, and they said it was going to be stable, and it was not. It was terrible. We could not even restore from the backups, so we're just keeping data out there that we couldn't even use. There was no testing it whatsoever. On top of that, I think back then they were still working on getting the NAS ability to integrate with a NAS and store locally on there, and it still wasn't working back then either. Now I think they're still stuck with Shadow Protect. I think Shadow Protect and StorageCraft is what they had primarily. It kind of worked. We stay far away from StorageCraft stuff because, one, don't get me wrong, it's a good product. It's just expensive. Two, I want something that can be a cloud product, not just desktop and has to go off the cloud manually. So that was out the picture. Other than that, I think that's going to end it for this quick video that I'm doing on RMMs. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to like, subscribe, and share a comment below, and I'll get sure to answer you as quick as possible. Thank you, and have a great day.